Welcome to the Level Up with Josh Pratt podcast, where you're invited to learn from my remarkable guest and lead a purpose-driven life. All right, everybody, welcome to the Level Up podcast with Josh Pratt. I'm your host, Josh Pratt, with my boy, Richard Pierre Louis.
Yo.
Okay, guys, so you may recognize Rich. Rich has been in all over Hollywood. You've seen him in commercials. I know was it Holiday Inn Express or HT?
Too many to name. I've done well over 50.
Jeez, I love it because I'll be watching college football and then I'll be like, oh, there's my boy Rich. And
yes, that's always exciting for me when my friends and family say, I just saw you. Or I've had the experience before where I'm at the gym working out and I look up at the screen and then I'm on screen.
And the people will be running on their treadmill.
You know what? Not one time has someone recognized me. When you're sweating and I've always look a little different when I'm doing, TV and film. I don't have this full head of hair, this beard. They kind of crop it out. So,
I know this
is really cool.
I know for you this isn't the case, but at least for my Zoom, it adds 15 pounds. So yeah, that's tough.
No, it's not your Zoom. It's just me.
No, me. I'm telling you, finishing all my kids' meals. But again, you guys
that's my problem. I'm always finishing my son's, leftovers. Like, you're not gonna eat that? No.
Hey, that food costs money,
I deliberately buy him food that I know he's not gonna eat. Really? You're not gonna eat all that sushi?
That's funny. Anyway, I wanted to just touch on a couple other movies and stuff and shows you've been in. So you guys may have seen Rich in Barbershop 2, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Shameless, the show Snowfall, and that's
on FX.
FX.
Part on there. I think a couple of years, maybe last year, or the season finale, the series finale last year, and I had an opportunity to work on HBO's Minx. That was a dream come true. Like, to be on HBO, I'd never really done anything with HBO. I've worked with Showtime, ABC, but I always wanted to do something on HBO, and I got a chance to do that. And it was a series. This series no longer exists right now, but it was a good show. It's something that you probably shouldn't let your kids watch.
All right.
That kind of show, but it was fun to work on it and experience that with that network.
No. Okay, I mean, I guess I wasn't going to dive in this, but might as well, since it's a fun topic. I know for probably a lot of our listeners, who are some of the big stars that you've worked alongside for that? And then I guess a follow-up question to that would be, who are some stars that you got to work alongside that you really connected well with, jived with, just really down to earth?
I did a project. It always comes to mind how startling, like how nice he was. And I did a project for NBC little less than 20 years ago, going on 20 years now, actually, was Billy Zane. Billy Zane was in his biggest role, I think, was Titanic. He was the villain in Titanic, opposite Leonardo DiCaprio. And when I got to set, we did the reading. You go back and you get cast and you have to do the reading at the table with all these people. And we did the reading and flew out to Cleveland, Ohio to film this movie. And we did the reading, and he was Billy Zane. He was the guy from Titanic. He was just this huge, massive actor at the time, and just a Chicago guy too. And at the time I was living in Chicago, and that's sort of how I broke the ice with him. But after we did the reading and we got to they give you the trailers. It was just a big production movie. It was millions of dollars that didn't go anywhere. But he came out of his trailer and knocked on mine, and I was like, oh, what does he want with me? I just thought he might want.
What did I do? What did I do?
Yeah, it was like, what does he want with me? I'm like a third character in the movie. He was a star, and there was another guy, and then there was me playing like the guy's right-hand man. But he came out, he said, hey, I'm gonna go listen to some music. Do you want to come with me? And I'm like, yeah, after we shoot. He's like, no, right now. He brought a record player from home. He brought a record player, plugged it into his trailer, and we just sat outside of the trailer listening to music till we had to go on set. And I thought that was just amazing, just very, very cool of him. Um, you don't see that often. People, if you're working, you're working, and some people are just very very focused, and they don't want to be bothered. Some people want to get, and that was his way of probably getting to know me as an actor.
Yeah.
And our scenes were a little bit more better because of that for me. I've worked with Ice Cube before,
Oh yeah,
in Barbershop
barbershop
too.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I worked with Ice Cube. He's just a fun dude to be around.
Hmm.
Fun dude to be around. Nothing like, the straight out well, nothing like the old Ice Cube where it was, straight out of Compton. Nothing like that. He was just a really nice guy to be around.
Yeah.
And yeah, just uh I think the biggest person I've ever met and had a chance to didn't work with them directly. I was doing a Sundance Institute sort of a project, and I
Yeah.
got to meet Robert Redford.
Cool.
It's huge.
Fun fun
That was
fact about Josh Pratt here. So I used to work at Sundance Resort for a brief
what?
yeah, a brief period of time. It was not my favorite job. Nothing against the people, but the time was just rough. Like I'd work late nights and then it'd take me like a half hour to get home and then I'd work early mornings and opening up the front desk. And so anyway, yeah, I got to meet Robert Redford.
Oh,
He'd come into the front office every once in a while and grab a paper or coffee or whatever. And yeah, just
I just couldn't believe I was meeting like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, or he was the Sundance Kid, right?
yeah,
I couldn't believe I was meeting him. I was like, this guy's a legend in the industry.
yeah, for
And
sure.
he got to be like a mentor. I think I was out there for a month, working on these projects for the lab itself. And he was one of the mentors, or he created it obviously, but he had a lot of mentor and
Hmm.
other Glenn Close, Sally Field, and there's a funny Dennis Haysbert. You know Dennis Haysbert? He
No, I
was he
don't.
was the he was the
I'll have to look
president
him
of
up.
24. I did a commercial with him actually.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to double check. I was binge watching 24 in the year 2002, Thanksgiving break. I was at my buddy Mitch's house in Las Vegas, and we just like cranked through
He
that.
was the mentors over at the lab, and I'd met him because he was one of the people that came by and gave notes to the directors. I was just they utilized me as one of the actors, so like a puppet. They just give you scripts and you go memorize them. You come back and film the scenes that um, the directors and writers have. And I met Dennis Haysbert, and just briefly, he was, there's about 100 actors, maybe a little less, but he was just one of the people that came by and gave notes. And I got to work with him in 2019. And I'm on set doing this commercial, and he goes, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" And I'm like, "Definitely not. You definitely don't know me. I'm not a famous actor. I don't know you." And he was like, "No, I'm sure I know you from somewhere." He's like, "I'm gonna think of it." And he came back, maybe by lunchtime. He goes, "You were at Sundance with me." This was almost 20 years ago. And I go, "Oh my God, you're right."
No kidding.
He was.
Gee,
I completely forgot because I mean, I was just a person passing in his peripheral, and he
that's
remembered. I
wild.
was like, "You are absolutely correct." And he just,
Wow.
yeah, that was that
Hey,
was that was a trip.
next time you're in Utah, let me know. If you go to Sundance again, what is it, in January, February?
February. I just got an email from them just now from the Sundance Institute where they want me to take a survey and be a part of something.
If you
I had a
go,
great time there. I personally had a great time there.
I can hook you up. I got friends and family out there. If you need a place to stay, I can tell
I
you all
am
the
sure my wife and
places.
son would love that to do some skiing and some fun resort stuff. I had a blast. I had a blast. It was all paid
I've
for and everything.
I've got some aunts out there that are some of the sweetest women you will ever meet on the face of this earth. But
You ain't got to sell me twice. I'm good. I'm going.
let's do it. Maybe I'll meet you out there. Get some snowboarding
For
in.
sure. Go do some skiing, man.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate you kind of sharing some of those stories. That's pretty fun to hear. And
Yeah.
on that note, like all of us just want to be treated. I mean, I think for the most part, just like normal, right? And just like a regular old Joe.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the Hollywood elite don't want that, but I've had the opportunity to meet some like Major League Soccer players and some World Cup soccer players and NFL MVPs and Mark Rippon and and all of them that I've met for the most part just zero ego and love being treated, just like a normal regular old person.
I'd say, from my experience, maybe I'm not going to lie and say I haven't had a bad experience with
Yeah.
some artists, actors, but for the most part, 90 something percent has been positive, been great. But there
Yeah.
are some that I would never work with again. I would
Hmm.
just choose not to have them. You know, sometimes their reputation precedes them, and sometimes I would prefer never to work with them again. If I
Well,
if,
you're a big
and I'm not going to
star.
name names. Say it
Yeah, of
again.
course, of course.
No, I'm not because I'm not. Again,
That's not you.
I was a small guy, and you know the small one on the totem pole. They were big actors and very famous, very rich, very wealthy. Uh, just not nice or kind all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You hear horror stories and you go, that can't be true. That can't be true. And then you go, no, that's more than true. And then
Interesting.
you have to navigate being a professional more than them because they have nothing to lose. You know, you have everything to lose if you go in with a sort of if you go in with an attitude, or if you leave with an attitude. You just go, I'm here to do my job.
Yeah.
We're not here to be friends. That's my cat in the background. I'm not here to be anybody's friend. I'm here to do a project and do it to the best of my God-given ability.
Yeah. How did you get your start in the industry? And do you feel like there was a moment in time when like you got your big break and you're like, this is going places. I don't need to do part-time work anymore. I can focus. Like, I'm no big wig realtor, right? But like there were some moments where I sold like an $800,000 home and I was like pretty
Yay.
and it and I'm like, dang, this is actually turning into something. And then I sold some luxury homes and then it's like, all right, it looks like I'm not digging ditches anymore, you know?
You know, you always have that wish and that hope, and you always put your best foot forward that no matter what it is. I do remember um, I started when I was like 17 years old in New York, doing doing music videos, dancing for, MTV at the time. They used to have TV shows where you would be a dancer on the show, and I would do
Yeah, yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. And I never thought I'm going to be discovered. You always think maybe this will lead to something, maybe this will lead to something, maybe this next thing. But I do remember vividly uh, praying that no matter what happens, this was going to be my profession. I knew that I might have odd jobs. I knew that I did. I wasn't naive and didn't convince myself that. The only time I really thought that it would be no more uh, uh, working as a bartender or anything like that was when I did do that film. That was I was a third lead in it, and it didn't go anywhere. Um, I just thought this industry is a lot harder than I thought it was. Because even you're unemployed after they say cut right away. They say cut. It's a wrap. You're back. You're back on that unemployment line. You got to do what you got to do. But I do remember thinking and praying, I'm going to choose. I'm going to pray to God. I'm going to choose to make this a career, no matter if I have to work other jobs. But this is going to be what I prefer to live my life doing
Yeah.
and earning a living at. But there wasn't a specific moment, but there have been times where I thought maybe this might be it, where my face is out there so much that other people want to work with me. And I've had failed TV shows where I was the lead excuse me,
Yeah, you're good.
my apologies, where I was the lead actor, the number one on the call sheet, and the shows just didn't go to the next level. They didn't manifest into anything,
Yeah.
and that taught me a lot. Like until you've made it, you have not made it.
Well, that's a good point. And like, and I know you feel this way. So in my line of work as a realtor, it's just like there's a lot of egos out there, right? And I try not to be like that, but every year it's like, oh, top realtor, or, what do they call it? Like top producer, all these things. And I've been really blessed where I've had that for a few years now. But at the end of the day, like I don't care about that stuff. Like I have to put it out there because I have to put it out there, right? To kind of
Yeah,
show. I mean, really, it's like just going to bat for my family. But I
that's
mean,
the main thing. Yeah, and now that I do have a family, that's what I continually do and focus on, and not allow ego or anything to get in my way at
yeah,
all.
and I know in our brief interactions, like I know you're that kind of guy. You're stand up, right? But At the same time, so that's all like in its own little arena, right? But that stuff just doesn't matter, right? In the grand scheme of things. So because it's like, what have you done for me lately, right? Whether you're in sports or music, have you put out any, number one hits or, um, you know, chart topping music, or if you're a realtor, have you sold any big properties or how many properties? Like, we're just so easily forgotten, is I guess what I'm saying. And so, like, you have to
That is
live.
that is the nature. You said it. You hit it right on the head. It's that is the nature of the business that I'm in, that you're in. It's what have you done for me lately? What have I seen you in lately? What can you do for me right now?
Yeah.
And you just, I remember talking to a teacher one time. He's like, you're always going to be auditioning until you're not.
So you're washed up.
Always going to be auditioning until you're not. I think people have the misconception that once you're on TV, you've made it. There's a misconception, and I think that there's a handful of people in my industry in Hollywood, as it were, that don't audition and that are offered roles. You could probably name 10 of them, and the rest of us, we are constantly auditioning and working
Yeah,
and competing for parts with each other.
totally.
There's just
So
so little. There's the percentage of actors who are famous, big, and rich, who are working all the time, who don't have to audition for roles and compete, are very minuscule to the amount of people who do. I mean, you find out later on that I was watching something, and I think it was Michael J. Fox and Eric Stoltz, right? These guys were big, and during when they were doing Back to the Future, they were competing for the part, and then one beat the other one out, and the other one just, I didn't get it, but then he wound up getting it at the end of the day. But they were competing, and as famous as they both were at the time, they
yeah,
still had to compete for that role. And that
interesting.
happens
Like,
often.
as we're talking here, I'm just seeing all the overlap between your industry, or I guess I should say parallel, like, because you've got these luxury listings where I'm going to interview, and I'm a very laid back in my approach, and I'm not forcing their pen to paper, the sellers. But then you've got other listing agents that are, trying to win and compete to get the
Yeah.
the part, if you will. And we all want to
What
just
do
go out and get that hunt, right? And shoot that big bear and bring it home to feed the family.
yeah. What do people look for? I know when my wife and I were shopping for homes, we wanted a realtor who was. What do people look for when they want to buy a house from you, uh, as a realtor?
I mean, I think they know you, hopefully, like, or are referred to you by a friend. Like, I actually got a text from a lady in my neighborhood today. She's like, "Hey, this guy Austin, he's moving to the neighborhood or to the area." So they got to know you, they got to like you, they got to trust you. And I think probably in a lot of ways in your industry, the same thing. It's like,
There's so many exerting factors. Like, there's a vibe. Sometimes people get roles not because of how they look, or whether or not they did the best part. Because sometimes they didn't have the greatest audition, but there's just something about them that you go, I trust that person. I like that person more than I like that person, and I want to work with that person more
yeah.
than the other person who offered me X, Y, and Z. I don't know, but it's just
So
there are definitely a lot of overlaps between the industries.
hopefully I can give you, this is helpful, and I don't know if you need this or not, but maybe some of our listeners can take a little nugget away from this. Like, if you get cut or if I get cut, right, if I'm not picked to be a listing agent, I just say to myself, hey, look, like, God's got a bigger plan, right? And
You have to attack it with the first and foremost. You have to go in it with a positive attitude and leave with it. I think I told you a story just recently. You just have to attack it with a positive attitude. Otherwise, you'll be lost. I think I told you the story about a month ago. I was working on a project, a big commercial, and they never got around to filming my scene. I got cast in it. Went to, I got to set early, and there was a famous actress, and she got to set very, very late. I was there from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., but my scene was supposed to film around, I don't know, 11 in the morning. You go to hair
yeah,
and makeup, you just wait around. It's a lot of waiting. And by the time 4 o'clock rolled around, they were like, I don't know if we're going to get to your scene. So, and I'm thinking, that's not possible. You have to, I'm an intricate part of this commercial. You have to put it. But it's Hollywood magic. They found a way to not put me in
yeah,
the commercial, and I was cut. But I said when I came home, I'm not mad. I can't. God must have something better for me, or that wasn't meant to be for me. but I refuse to
Totally.
allow. I could not. I could not. That would be denying what I know God has done for me in the past.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
You just have to have that resilient mindset, right? Where it's like, actually, I just had this luxury listing signed last week, and
yeah.
I don't want to make this about me, but essentially,
Well, it
it
is about us. It is about it. No, you should
no.
make it about you.
Well, I just want people to be able to draw from this. Is like it didn't work out because some other agent came and meddled and interjected themselves and broke realtor code of ethics. They violated code of ethics. And, I'm trying to have a positive attitude about it and, just say, hey, there'll be another deal. There's always another deal.
Yeah,
But, I put my faith in God, as I know you do. But let's move on a little bit. And would
yeah.
you mind sharing with our listeners how you and I met? And I might have a piece to the story that is embarrassing that I could share.
Well, you start off because it was. I actually told my wife this story just recently. Just how fantastic God is, and how uh, truly blessed, and people come in your lives and they remain in your lives, even sometimes just to say hello and hey, I'm thinking of you, and you are that guy. And when you asked me to be a part of this, I didn't hesitate
Yeah.
because you didn't hesitate to help me in a moment of need and crisis.
Well, you're very kind. I'll share this. So me and my wife Tiffany and our I don't know maybe three kids at the time I think we were out in California visiting her family in Thousand Oaks and we're packing up early in the morning, probably 3 in the morning to beat LAX or beat LA traffic, and we show up to the airport and you and I are coincidentally standing right next to each other and we get
In
chatting.
line, right?
Yeah, as we're getting ready to fly out and you tell me a little bit about your story and as we all do at some
We
point.
just so happen, what's funny? We just so happen to just be talking about, your family. What we weren't even aware of each other's situation or my situation. But I said to you, I'm gonna go pick up my son, and I was very. It was my son uh, was displaced from me at like 7 or 8 weeks, and I finally got the courts involved, and I was gonna go pick him up and bring him back home to where he belonged. And I think I shared a little bit of that with him when I pick up my son, but something happened at the counter where the ticket was messed up, and you just thought you can
Okay.
take my seat, and I was like, what? I can go ahead of you, and you
Well,
didn't hesitate.
I don't remember all the details, but yeah, I think maybe you were behind me, and I
Yeah,
can't remember that. But if but what I do remember, which is the fun part of the story, it's embarrassing at the moment in the time, and probably a little bit now too. But
it's
maybe
very
God was
funny.
just working his magic. But okay, so Richard and I are in line, we're talking, and then yeah, he just tells me, some of the stuff that's going on, and as we all do at some point in time in our lives, we need someone there just to be, listen, and so we can be heard and say a prayer. So I just offered to say a prayer with Rich, and
And you did. You and your wife took me aside and said a prayer right in the middle of the airport without. What I loved was there was no hesitation, or, some people do get kind of, I wouldn't say shamed or embarrassed, but they're a little reticent to share their faith openly and publicly. And you took me in the middle of us waiting in line and said a prayer for me aloud. I cried.
oof,
I cried.
I'll tell you what, I was actually giving this gal a ride to work yesterday. She's in a rough situation. And she said, I was talking about just this humble group of people. I was like, they're so humble, they're amazing. And she's like, well, they're not making changes in their life because they're humble. It's because they're suffering. And,
Mm, mm.
it's like in that moment in time, like you were clearly suffering. You wanted to be with R2 and you wanted him home where he belonged. You feared for his safety and so on and so
Yeah,
forth. And he just needed to be with you. And so I think that's interesting, right? Like when we're suffering, that's when we're
that's
really
powerful.
listening. That's when we're
That's
really like
powerful.
open. And then it doesn't matter whatever everyone else thinks, or if they see us praying, it's like, I don't care what you think.
Oh,
And
I couldn't care less in that moment. I think at that moment I was building what now I believe I have is an army of believers and people who are faithful and are passionate about love and God, and are passionate about truth. And I just thought,
oof,
I'll never ever turn. There are moments where you just remember, I'll never turn back from this. I'll never deny, because you stood there and just, we didn't know each other from, we met each other less than 5 minutes prior to that. You decided to just go, this guy needs something, and I'm gonna, even if I physically can't give him anything or do anything, I'm gonna pray for him. And that was all I needed. That was all I needed in that moment.
So here, I'm glad I could be there, but this is the embarrassing part of the story. So my wife and I, not only did we show up early for our flight, we showed up about like 26 hours early.
That was, I was like, you like, I'm not supposed to be here today. No,
Yeah.
it was a Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, we showed up on the wrong day. That was my bad. I think we'd flown into Burbank, then we were supposed to fly out to LAX, and it was just a mess. But I even told you that day, I said, hey, look, if the only reason we were supposed to get up and be here this day, pack up was for you in this moment, like I would do that every time, 100%.
God bless you, man. That definitely touched me, and it set me on the course of just like having faith, more and more faith as I got my faith got stronger as I went through the process of collecting R2 and bringing them home, and being a single dad. It just got stronger. I had nothing else to rely on but faith, so I let it all go. Yeah,
Very good. I would love to do a part two of this, but let's tease it a little bit and let
absolutely.
people know what part two is going to be about. And you just kind of mentioned, tell them the truth and go
I
for
took
it.
a vow. I think I told you this. I took a vow when I was able to when so I figured if I go at getting my son back, the one thing that I don't ever want to do is, number one, lie to him, but I don't want to lie obviously to God, because God can see everything we do. I know it's, if you lie, just doesn't matter if the other persons believe you. I just promised myself that I would not lie throughout the entire process. I refuse to lie, but I've done that. When I was younger, I just, lying is not for me. I can't lie because I get caught. Even in things that I think I mentioned to you that I've done that don't paint me in the best light. They really didn't paint me in the best light, but I will have to say that I had to be honest with the people that I hurt. And it doesn't make me feel better, but the one thing I can say is I didn't lie to you. I did not deceive you. I didn't take advantage, and I didn't try to mislead you and then pray to God that everything's going to be okay after my lie. I refuse to lie. Truth is something that I think I told you. You lie once, you got to lie again to kind of cover that lie, and then lie again to cover the two lies you said, and it just becomes this big snowball of
Yeah,
lies, and it never
building.
ends.
And
And
then you
I
have to
promise you,
remember, right? I think they say like the average person shares like, 5 or 6 white lies a day or something like that. But
holy moly,
I don't know. I could be wrong. You hear these things, but the thing is like, yeah, you're right. When you start sharing these lies, then you have to like keep lying and lying. And then not only that, but then you have to remember like what lies you said instead of just strictly staying to the truth, the honest
I
truth.
knew if I told the truth, I couldn't veer and I couldn't get tripped up, because a lot of times in these systems, when you go to court, they don't, they want to see which one of you are the most honest, the most sincere, and the one that's trying least to deceive them. I said, I'm going to do everything, quote unquote, the right way, and sort of be honest all the way through about just the situation that happened. And because once you lie, you got to remember them. And if you get caught up, then it's a bad look. It's a bad look. I think it's a bad look because the court system is designed, it's a money thing. And if I'm going to spend, $250,000 in court like I have over the last few years, I'm going to spend it doing the right thing. Because
Yeah.
if I spend it and get caught in a lie and I lose, that $250,000, that's or more, it's bad on me.
Yeah, you are invested financially, and because, well, not because you're invested financially, but you're also spiritually like invested. You're telling your honest truth.
I had Jay, we talked on, I had a lot to lose. I could have lost R2. I could have lost my son if I lied. And I wasn't about to, I think I told you, um, I'd rather tell the truth and lose than to lie to win.
Hmm.
And if he came back, I could look him in the face and anything and say, I never lied. I told the truth to get you. And I don't want to lose you with a lie. That's something I don't want. I don't want to keep someone with a lie either.
What was the quote? I remember you sharing it, and I wrote it down somewhere. You were talking about
What
like, hey, what?
what was it? Me lying,
No,
not
no, no,
lying.
no. No, you shared a quote like, I'm not like God is giving me up. And if I question him, then it's like, or I'm going back. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I say a lot of things that I think are profound, but no, I just that's one of the ones that I've often told my wife. I'd rather keep my wife with the entire truth than to keep her with a lie. And lying is just something that I cannot I can't live with it.
Yeah.
I can't God is watching. He knows if I lie, he's gonna at some point he's I can't ask God to make my lie believable and correct so I can gain mortals favor. I don't need the mortals. I need your favor. And if he knows that I'm lying and I'm begging him to keep, which is what happened in this case with the opposite party, they begged for lies to be told and to her. And I don't think God sanctions that. I don't, it doesn't seem like God is like, okay, I'm gonna help you out with this lie and just cover it up for you.
Yeah.
I don't think
Dude,
it works that way. It didn't work. So
amen. And the way you're kind of talking right there is like it has me feeling like, you know, I'm greedy for blessings, right? Like if you want to put it like that, like I
amen.
know I've got my kids I got to provide for, my wife, and like you said, God's favor. And I know that I can be on his side, on his team when I'm doing what is right and I'm keeping my nose clean and I'm you know, trying to serve.
I realized, yes, you know what I realized? It doesn't mean that things are not going to happen to you. Think,
Totally.
but when we talk about like being in God's favor and just we have to do what's right. Things are gonna, and we have to react to what people do to us, and it could be wrong. People do wrong things to us all the time, but it's how we react to it.
Yeah. And
And
we probably have some listeners that are like, well, Josh, like you just said, you missed out on this luxury listing. Like, what did you do? Right. Like, no, I don't think God is like up there like tallying. I think what
nope,
he's doing, and I mean, if he's tallying, I think what he's tallying is like, I'm going to give Josh this experience, or I'm going to give Rich this experience where his scene doesn't get cast, right? They don't film it. And he's going to have to stew on this and he's going to have to turn to me and he's going to have to rely on me. And, um, so if anything, I like a good father, he wants to build us up.
I think it's about so many things, but I think faith is so important. Like having unwavering faith is you have to have that in order to move on from whatever is presented on you towards you. Just because you didn't do anything wrong. People get into accidents. They didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
It happened. And how do you react from it? How do you believe that God has a purpose for you and keeping you safe? You could because there's so many other things to be thankful for
Yeah.
within that
Oh,
within that messed up moment.
this hits home very close to home right now. We have a dear friend who we've known our whole lives. They lost their son, who I was his Boy Scout leader for a brief
Mm,
time. And we've house sat for them, watched the kids,
it's
20-year-old
tough.
young man. And yeah, I mean, you said it. It's like, how do we respond, right? Like, what is the way it either makes us or breaks us, right? And I think we'll
Yeah,
talk more about that next time. And maybe we can talk about some of the experiences you've had where you had to be vulnerable and share truths that you didn't really want to share, but you weren't going to lie.
yeah,
And
I definitely did, and especially that I have my wife now, who at the time when I had R2 was not my wife, but was someone who probably should have been at the
yeah,
time. Yeah,
awesome. Well, hey, Rich, I appreciate you taking time. We'll do a part two soon. And love you, bro. Praying for
love
you,
you too,
wife,
brother.
and little R2. All right. Talk to you soon.
Peace, man. God
Thanks.
bless.
God bless. Real quick, I want to say thank you for tuning in and also ask for a favor. If you enjoyed the show, I'd ask that you would hit the subscribe button. It helps us scale the guests, it helps us grow the production. And if you really enjoyed it, please consider donating to the show by finding me on Venmo at Josh-Pratt. That's at JOSH-PRATT. I will repay your kind gesture by making sure that this show gets better and better. Thank you so much.